Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. And today it's our Unit 10. We're talking about how to prioritize your work. And this, of course, is a lesson that continues on after our last lesson. It was a conversation between Jane and Fred. He was feeling very frustrated at work. He's swamped with work. He's got a lot of work to do, and he doesn't know how to cope with all his workloads and his deadlines and stuff like that. Jane was giving him some advice. So that was a conversation, but today we've actually got an article that tries to tell us how to organize, mostly at work, but I guess you could also use this advice as ways to organize your life in school or just your personal life.
Yeah, it's a skill that you'll never grow tired of. You'll be using it until you die. I think being organized makes your life more fulfilled. You get more done. You're not wasting a lot of time. So I think this is a really good skill to learn. Some people are naturally good organizers and they find it easy to prioritize. Some people aren't, but you can always get better. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And then after we finish the article, of course, we have a couple of discussion questions. We can share with you our personal answers, but we really do hope that you'll take the time to try and answer these questions yourself in English so you can practice some of these new vocabulary words and terms that we have to share with you. Let's get started, guys. We're going to read through our article and then we'll be back.
We've all been swamped with work at one time or another. Whether it's a pile of homework assignments or a mountain of office tasks, such a huge amount of work can be overwhelming. In these situations, you might be in danger of forgetting something crucial. In order to prevent this, you'll need to do two things: organize and prioritize. The first thing you have to do is figure out exactly what you have to do. You can do this by writing a list. Besides ensuring you don't forget anything, the act of writing things down forces you to consider things rationally rather than emotionally. This way, you can judge how important a task is. Lists are also favored by many because it feels good to cross off the tasks once they've been completed. Once you've organized your workload into a list, prioritize it. Tasks should be done the day after they are assigned, unless they are urgent and need immediate attention. Any outstanding tasks can then be moved to a new list of work for the following day. Aim to complete that list each day. You can use the task's deadline to decide which of them needs to be finished first. Organizing and prioritizing your workload this way should help you stay on top of things and spare you a good deal of stress.
Okay, guys, let's dive in and get started with how to prioritize your work. How do you do it? What's the secret? You know, I spend a lot of time on the internet preparing lessons and working on scripts and translations for clients. And sometimes there will be little articles online on how to better prioritize your life. I typically will click on them and look at them because I think some people have some new ideas that might help me in my own life. We hope that some of these things we talk about today will help you. Now, in the first sentence, it says we've all been swamped with work at one time or another. This is so true. Whether it's homework or household chores at home, or jobs that your mom and dad give you to complete. I know kids in Taiwan don't have as many chores as some American kids did growing up, but it's good to help your mom and dad. They're busy. Well, sometimes you have so much on your plate that you just kind of feel swamped. If you feel swamped with something, it means you feel overwhelmed. There's too much coming at you. There's an excess of something in your life, or there's too much for you to handle or deal with. You're unable to cope with so much stuff. It could be your workload at work. Maybe your boss thinks you're really terrific, but ends up giving you way too much to do.
Yep.
Or maybe it's homework, and one teacher gave you way too much homework, and now you have to juggle that with homework from another teacher and another teacher. Life is hard.
How do you prioritize it? How do you organize it? You could be swamped with that stuff. Swamp is usually an area of water that's got plants and maybe some animals and bugs there. It's the same thing as a slough, for example, or a bog or something. So you can imagine a lot of water there. So you're swamped with work. You've got all sorts of work. It feels like you're drowning. And whether it's a pile of homework assignments or a mountain of office tasks, such as a huge amount of work, such a huge amount of work can be overwhelming. If something's overwhelming, it's just too much, and you can't get ahead of it. You can't figure it out. It's just wiping you out. It's confusing you, and you just want to pull out your hair and say, get me out of here. I'm overwhelmed. It's just too much.
Yeah, my normal reaction to being overwhelmed by work or just stuff I have to get done is, to go get a donut or two to eat. That's what I do.
That might help, yeah.
I just get a donut. So, Tom works with me a lot. He sees that sometimes I'm fatter and sometimes I'm thinner. When I'm fatter, it's because I'm too overwhelmed. I have too much work. That's what usually happens. But when I'm thinner, hey, life is good and I can exercise all the time. So don't let things become overwhelming to you. Talk them out, write them down, get a handle on them, get them under control. In these situations where you feel overwhelmed, you might be in danger of forgetting something crucial. This has happened to me before. If you have too much work, sometimes you let something fall in the cracks, or as we taught you in our earlier lesson, sometimes you drop the ball and you let someone down. If something's crucial, guys, it's really, really important. We could also use the word critical or essential or vital. You don't want to forget something crucial. It could cause you a lot of trouble. So be careful that when you get busy, you keep everything in front of you. You don't let anything fall behind the sofa where you can't find it. Yeah.
Indeed, crucial is extremely important to such a point that it could affect the outcome of future events. So, for example, you could say, this game is crucial to the Tigers. If they lose the game, they won't be able to make the playoffs. So it's a must-win for the Tigers. It is crucial.
It's critical. Critical is another good word there.
There you go. So indeed, yes, you might forget something extremely important. And in order to stop this, or in order to prevent this, you'll need to do two things. Okay, organize and prioritize. Those words sound kind of similar there. To organize just means to have an order to things, what's most important, and make a list. And then prioritize, which is actually to recognize which items on your list are more important than the others.
Yeah, in comparison to the others. You're comparing all of those things on your list, and the thing that is most important should get a star by it or a number that lets you know it's really important. So the first thing you have to do is figure out exactly what you have to do. The best thing you can do is write a list of everything that you can possibly think of that you have to do. Even if some of those things aren't very important, I like to keep them all on a list so I can see them, so I don't forget them. To figure out means to solve. So you're solving some sort of problem. You're going through things. You're coming up with a way that you can be successful. So figure out, you solve. You got to work it out. So you have to write down everything on a list.
Indeed, that's what figuring out involves here, making that list and figuring out things, getting things straight, understanding them.
Understanding what's involved, yeah.
Indeed. And, of course, as we said, you can do this by writing a list. Besides ensuring you don't forget anything, the act of writing things down forces you to consider things rationally rather than emotionally. Yes, there's something that feels really good when you actually write something down by hand. Okay? If you write it on the screen of your smartphone or something, or on on your keyboard on your computer. Yeah, you get the information down, but it just doesn't feel the same as using your bare hands, your brawn and your muscles and your hand-eye coordination. You get the smell of the paper, the smell of the ink, the shiny reflection of the light off the ink as it goes onto the paper. It's really a wonderful experience. So, yes, writing this list ensures or guarantees that you don't forget anything. But besides that, again, as I said, the act of writing things down makes you consider things rationally rather than emotionally. Rationally means using logic and scientific evidence and
your
stuff
mind.
like
Your
yep,
mind.
Indeed.
You think through it.
You think it through and it makes sense. A lot of times, of course, when men and women have arguments, the women are always being too emotional and the men are being rational and logical. Well, that's the stereotype, of course, but that probably will help you understand what this is talking about. Be rational and don't get too emotional.
Yeah, if you're emotional and not thinking rationally, you just want to cry and, maybe go to the donut shop like I do when I get overwhelmed. Think it through, write it down, and you'll find a way to be successful. So this way you can judge how important a task is by writing it down. Look at it, compare it with the other things on your list, and then you can go forward. It says here that lists are also favored by many because it feels good to cross off tasks once they've been completed. I mentioned this in our earlier program. I love to cross off the tasks that I've completed on my list of things to do. Love, love, love. Now, if you favor something, guys, we can use favor as a verb to talk about things we prefer. So if I have a set of choices or some different options, if I favor one over another, it means I like that one better. So lists are favored or preferred by people because, darn it, it feels good to cross off those things we've finished. I love that feeling.
Yeah, more people like lists. They are favored by a lot of people because, yes, indeed, it feels good to cross those tasks off the list when they've been completed. Now, moving on to the next paragraph here, it says, once you've organized your workload into a list, prioritize it. Okay, so getting back to a couple of paragraphs ago, it said there are two things you need to do: organize and prioritize. So making the list is organizing, but now what you need to do is prioritize. You need to prioritize that list. And that, of course, means that you need to figure out what things are more important, what things need to be done sooner, and what things aren't so important, and what things don't need to be done so quickly.
And sometimes you need to take into account who gave you an assignment. It depends, too, who gave you the assignment as to how high on the list you want to put that particular task. Tasks should be done the day after they are assigned, unless they are urgent and need immediate attention. I think this sentence can be debated. I think some tasks can wait a week or two. When I have a list of things to do, it includes things from my boss, but it's also things personally in my life that I want to do. Maybe I need a new chair for my desk at home. That's not urgent, I'll go and do it when I have time, but I want to put it on my list so I don't forget it. Or perhaps I'm in the neighborhood where they're selling furniture and I can run and grab a chair and mark it off my list, cross it off my list. So tasks, it depends on what kind of task it is. They don't necessarily have to be done the day after they're assigned. But if something's urgent, you probably need to get it done that day or the next day at the latest.
Right. Again, we're talking about things that have to do with work here, but this could also apply to school and maybe even your personal life. Like for me, for example, I wanted to get a new TV for a long time, but it wasn't very urgent. The old TV, well, it's the old format. It's, 4:3 aspect ratio.
I have the old TV still.
Yeah, they still work fine and you can watch stuff.
I don't watch TV much.
Yeah, well, I do sometimes. It's good for Chinese study, because TV shows here have the subtitles and stuff like that. So it kind of depends on your priority. Some people would think a TV is distracting and it doesn't help you get work done. So kind of depends on the individual. And as you said, yes, not necessarily so that you need to wait until the day after. But again, you need to figure out what things are urgent and what things need immediate attention. Attention right now. We've got to do this because this is from the boss. It's not just from that joker over in sales there. He's a new guy. Who cares about his assignment? This assignment is from the boss. I better put priority on that assignment.
Yeah, if I got an assignment from my boss, which I rarely did, I would always do it first because he's my boss. And then other people who felt like they had an urgent request for my help, I would tell them, hey, my boss wants this, and my boss was their boss, so I always won that particular argument or debate. If something needs immediate attention, it's also very urgent. Immediate here is an adjective. Typically, you'll see this word used as an adverb immediately. Now, any outstanding tasks which have not been completed are considered to be outstanding. That doesn't mean that these tasks are really great and special. No, it means they haven't been done yet. If you have outstanding debt, outstanding bills, it means bills you haven't paid yet. So we use outstanding to mean not completed yet. So remember that doesn't mean, ooh, these are good tasks. No, it just means they haven't been done. They can be moved to a new list of work for the following day. I do agree that you should have a new list of things to do every day at work. It keeps things organized, clean, and prioritized well.
Well, it sounds like you probably should make these lists with a pencil and not with a pen. That way you can erase them instead.
Oh, no. I just get a new piece of paper, Tom, please.
Start all over each day.
No.
Use a fresh piece of paper.
Yes.
And yeah, paper's still pretty cheap. And yes, indeed, you can move those new items to your list for work the following day. Now, aim to complete that list each day. Aim here is being used as a verb. It just means you have that as your goal or your target. You could say try to complete that list or make it your goal to complete that list each day and then start fresh the next day.
Yeah, you can use the task's deadline. Remember, that's the due date, deadline, due date. Those are the same. To decide which of them needs to be finished first. And actually, if you have two really urgent tasks, sometimes I'll talk to the people that gave me the task and say, okay, this person needs this person needs this. Sometimes I'll bring them in the same room and we can have a discussion together and let them fight it out. And then I'll move on from there. So just make sure that you know which one actually does need to be finished first. Organizing and prioritizing your workload this way should help you stay on top of things. If you're on top of things, guys, you're never running behind. You're never trying to catch up. You always feel good about yourself because when you start to fall behind, oh, it's a terrible feeling, and it puts more stress on you. So stay on top of things, stay current. Don't get behind or you're going to get a little bit anxious and more stress is going to come your way.
Yep, try to stay on top of things or try to keep ahead of the game and don't fall behind. Otherwise, you're just going to be trying to catch up. So yes, indeed, stay on top of things by organizing and prioritizing. And these things should spare you a good deal of stress. Here we have the word spare, which means it will prevent you from having to suffer this. Spare me! I committed a crime and the king is going to execute me. Oh, please, spare me. Spare my life. Let me live. Please forgive me. So this should spare you a good deal or a great amount of stress.
That's right. Okay, guys, right now we are going to take a short break, listen to our Chinese teacher, and then come back to go over a couple of discussion questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. 好，我们今天来继续看，我们应该怎么样把工作的优先次序定好呢？好，这边的文章里头就说到，其实每个人都一样，我们常常非常非常的忙，忙得不可开交。好，这个第一个片语，当你说一个人 be swamped with 就有点像 be overwhelmed with， 好像东西就要把你压扁了，你被工作给压榨的不行，忙到不可开交。好，再来我们看到下一句，他用 whether 做开头来引导一个副词的子句 Whether it's a pile of homework assignments or a mountain of office tasks， 不管是 A 或者是 B， 这是 whether 的用法 whether A or B。当它放在一个子句的头，它其实是一个连接词的用法。好，这呢就有点像是一个条件句一样啊。不论是 A 或者是 B， 不管 A 或者是 B， 但是要记得哦，很多人们把 whether 和 no matter 混淆了，因为你以为 whether 就等于 no matter 吗？其实不是哦。no matter 中文翻成不论，可是 no matter 是不会独立存在的，它基本上是会跟另外一个 WH这种疑问词的字放在一起，像 no matter what, no matter when, no matter why, no matter how。 如果你是用 whether， 那你要记得它本身就是一个连接词，它不需要再放 no matter 在前面了。好，我们再来看下面呢，他说到 in order to prevent this， 我们知道 in order to 就代表要达到什么目的。In order 这两个字没有也没关系，你可以直接用 to 开头。换句话说，为了如何 to prevent this， 要避免这种状况，记得两件事，他说到 organize and prioritize。 好，这两个字其实简洁而有力，意思就是要你组织安排，要你确定优先顺序。那第一件事情要搞清楚你到底在做什么。 The first thing you have to do is， 好咯，我们看到这个主词部分很长，你要做的第一件事情是，我们记得吗？前面说到 what you have to do is， all you have to do is， 那一样的这里 the first thing you have to do is， 做什么后面就是加原形动词，所以你看到 figure out exactly what you have to do。 我们这里可以再说一遍，就是它基本上就是把不定词符号的 to 省略了，所以你看到的是一个原形动词的 figure out。 好，搞清楚你应该做什么，那可以写一张清单。好，那除了说你要确保你不会忘记任何事之外，你把事情写下来，这也会强迫你很理性的，而不是很情绪性的来思考事情。这个地方用到了 besides 这个字它是介系词，所以说它后面呢如果碰到动词，记得哦 VING， 这也是为什么你看到的是 ensuring。 当然你也可以把 besides 换成 in addition to， 意思都是一样的。好，接下来这边还有一个重点，就是 rather than。 好，我们晓得 rather than 它基本上是连接词哦。这个连接词片语有一个很大的特色，就是前后两个必须是平行对仗的，在词类上，在功能上，像这边你看到了 rationally 跟后面的 emotionally， 这两个其实都是副词。他提到是你要用理性的方式，而不是情绪性的方式。 OK， 再来我们继续往下。下面呢，当然我们讲说你把事情排到清单以后，要决定优先顺序。那 prioritize 这个字我们常常用它的名词 priority， P-R-I-O-R-I-T-Y， 那个就代表优先顺序。那 prioritize 是它的动词。好，排定优先顺序。那他说到了假如你事情排定了，基本上就是排好之后第二天处理。 Unless they are urgent and need immediate attention， 这个 unless 就是说除非除非 unless 本来就是一个连接词，那这个连接词呢要特别留意的就是如果你在中文讲除非，后面好像会接着说否则，对不对？那可是英文里面记得 unless， 如果你用了这个连接词，请你不要再把 otherwise 或者是 or 跟着写进来，因为这样就变成两个字摆在一样，意思重复了。除非跟否则虽然在中文说得通，可是在英文是不能同时出现的。好，再来呢，下面一句里面他说到 Any outstanding tasks can then be moved to a new list of work for the following day。 好，这个地方的 outstanding 比较特别，因为我们好像比较常用这个字来表示一个人非常的杰出，说他是一个 outstanding student， 非常杰出。可是这里却不是杰出，它是表示未完成的工作 ，OK？ 未完成的工作，那你呢可以移到第二天来做他的在新的工作清单里来做。好，再来我们再看最后有一个重点，在这个文章的结束的地方呢，他说到如果是用这样的方法来组织安排，来确定工作的优先顺序，应该是可以帮你掌控事情，然后让你免除很多的压力。好，这里地方有一个字 spare， 我们知道 spare 它其实呢就是有点像是多余空出来，如果讲到 spare 当动词来，就是免除，让你不需要遭受什么的困扰。好，所以呢在这边来说 spare you a good deal of stress， 就是免除你的压力。好，我们今天的讲解就到这边为止，谢谢大家。
Okay, guys, here are our discussion questions. Tom, I'll ask you first. You can answer the first one, and then I'll go.
Okay.
Do you find it easy or difficult to keep a daily schedule? Why or why not?
Actually, it's pretty easy to keep a daily schedule with the kind of work that I do. I'm lucky. Basically, I don't really have to prepare for work that I do. I just show up and do the work, and there really is no assignments. There are no assignments that I need to take home with me. I get things done at the end of every day. So, yeah, I don't find it difficult to keep a daily schedule, but like I said, my schedule is not really all that complicated. How about you, Stephanie?
Well, as you know, I take on a lot of extra projects. I teach business clients. I teach writing classes. Sometimes I take on translation and editing work. Which is supposedly done in my free time. I don't have a lot of free time because I work evenings. So sometimes I'm scrambling, I'm juggling to stay on top of things. Some days are easier than others. It also depends on how many things are due at the same time. I try to keep due dates apart from each other. I don't want two things due on the same day.
Yeah.
Because that's too stressful, and I like time to read over things to make sure they're correct. I don't like things that have mistakes in them. But, yeah, I don't often finish my work at the end of the day. I still have more work waiting for me the next day. But, yeah. It's easier here in Taiwan doing what I do than when I worked in New York, and I directed a department which I had 22 employees, and it was hard. I had an office in Houston, Texas that I had to manage, and then one in New York, and we had lots of stressful, urgent projects, so I'm grateful for my life now.
It sounds to me that you're still working too much and that you don't really have a personal life.
I work too much, that's the truth.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's one thing to organize your business life, but it's another to organize your personal life. And because of family and work and stuff like that, and traffic jams and weather, sometimes it's kind of hard to do the things that you want to do in life. Like me, I'm trying to struggle to learn different foreign languages and get some exercise in, and lose some weight and build up the muscles and stuff like that. So those sorts of things require a table of organization as well.
And you actually have to put those into your schedule. Sometimes we think other people's deadlines are more important than our own. So make sure you keep exercising and do things that are good for you, make your life happy. Here's the next one. How do you organize and prioritize your tasks?
Yeah, basically, I use the advice that's listed in our article here. Just make that list.
Yeah.
A list works wonders. Some people keep those lists in their heads, but it's easy to forget those things. I think you really need to have them written down on a piece of paper using a pen, and it just kind of makes them feel more important that way, and you don't forget about them.
Yeah, I think we shared with you some really great tips. We really appreciate the writers who wrote these articles for our TOEIC study. I think they're excellent ideas ideas.
They are.
And if you haven't started organizing and prioritizing your life, now's the time. It's only going to get more complicated. Thank you for joining us, guys. We sure hope you'll spend some time reviewing these vocabulary words and phrases and try to use them as much as possible. Speaking is important.
From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.